Starship's third full stack flight test is just around the corner, and with the first two tests achieving some merits of success and progress, the third flight with Booster 10 and Ship 28 has made some pretty substantial upgrades and changes to not only the hardware, but also the flight profile and the mission itself. Just wanted to do a really quick overview of these changes and upgrades, as we prepare for what's always guaranteed to be an exciting launch of the world's biggest and most powerful rocket ever flown. Let's start off with the Launchpad and the Stage 0 infrastructure, because there have been some huge upgrades since the last flight. SpaceX can now load LOX on the booster in less than 40 minutes, and methane in 41 minutes. Both took about an hour and 37 minutes before, and now they can load LOX on the ship in 53 minutes instead of an hour and 13 minutes, and methane in 51 minutes instead of 1 hour and 17 minutes. These are ridiculous fill rates, considering it's about 10 times more propellant and fills it in a similar time to a Falcon 9, thanks to additional coolers and pumps. There are some new tanks that will be used on future flights to help with additional storage needs. The pad also received a few upgrades and additional heat reinforcement on the launch mount and tower, and a few small tweaks here and there to hopefully reduce refurbishment time between flights. SpaceX listed 17 upgrades to the ship and booster that would address the issues that cropped up during IFT2. There's 10 upgrades and changes for the ship and 7 for the Super Heavy booster, so here's a quick overview of some of those changes. On the booster, there's a few noticeable changes on the outside. First off, you may notice the grid fins on Booster 10 look different than Booster 9, but SpaceX actually walked back a small design change and returned to the grid fin design from prior vehicles, removing a small strip along the outer edge. There have been upgrades to the Starlink terminals that will hopefully help improve data connections to the vehicle. There's a slightly different common dome design that's debuting on Booster 10 that's more rounded and less rampy. There's a small tweak to the stability mount that they use during lifting. And there's likely some changes to filtration and potentially slosh baffles in the booster, as some kind of blockage in the oxygen line of a Raptor was the demise of Booster 9. But the booster will mostly see changes in software and engine control algorithms that should help it better cope with the flip maneuver after hot staging. While the booster doesn't seem to have a ton of notable hardware changes, S28 is quite a bit upgraded over its predecessor S25. In fact, IFT2, which flew Booster 9 and Ship 25, was a bit of a mismatch as S25 was already a fairly outdated vehicle design when it flew. In fact, Ship 28 started life completely differently when it was stacked in reverse order from top down, which allowed the vehicle to always be attached to the crane, reducing rigging time during construction. It also finally caught up to its booster friend by upgrading to Raptors that have electric actuators for its thrust vector control system instead of the older hydraulic ones. This greatly tidied up the engine compartment and helps reduce the risk of fire, which fire reduction risks is generally another upgrade. S20 has many tweaks and changes to help prevent fire on the vehicle, which is what took down S25. There's also just a simple change to not dump oxygen in the same manner, which is what helped feed the fire on board S25. The oxygen vents inside the aft skirt have changed and it's speculated their angle could help with attitude control as well. More obvious changes on the outside include some changes to the heat shield placement and pattern. Similar to the booster, it also gets a mighty upgrade with Starlink dishes, now featuring 4 dishes instead of 1, which again will help provide better data and hopefully get us some beautiful views while it's in space. The flaps added some small static wicks to help discharge static electricity. Side note, the front flaps are actually older than S25. They were taken off of S22, which never flew. S28's aft flaps have beefier mounting points compared to S25 and the body has been strengthened with 24 new reinforcement stringers inside the oxygen tank. Another fairly obvious change between S25 and S28 is the vents on the propellant tanks. A bunch of them have moved in location and the cowbell-style thrusterish vents have completely been removed from the middle of the ship and now the nose vents do feature that cowbell-style thrusterish vent. But maybe the coolest change we see on S28 is something that I've been waiting to see for a long time on one of these tests. S28 finally has its payload door operable instead of being welded shut, which brings us to the changes in the mission that we will hopefully see occur on IFT3. And there's actually some fairly large changes that are completely different from IFT2. With that payload bay not welded shut, it means we're hopefully going to see it open a little more than 3 minutes after ship engine shut down at 11 minutes and 56 seconds. There is a Starlink dispenser installed, but since this is a suborbital mission, there will be no payload actually deployed. Then we'll hopefully see another first with Starship. They plan to try and relight a Raptor engine in space. Now at the moment we don't know if they're going to do this prograde or retrograde, so either slightly extending its re-entry location or slightly shortening it. The following scene was set as water forcefully surged from the water deluge system, signaling that launch day is fast approaching. On the afternoon of March 10th, following meticulous preparations, a crucial system, the water deluge system, underwent testing once again. Testing approximately 20 seconds, the test unleashed an estimated 350,000 gallons of water, mirroring previous tests of this magnitude. This marked the second attempt at a water deluge test in readiness for Flight 3. The initial attempt occurred shortly after SpaceX encountered challenges during the wet dress rehearsal test on February 14th. The primary objective of this test is to ensure optimal functionality of the system when the Raptor engines ignite in the booster, safeguarding the Launchpad and surrounding infrastructure from potential damage, as demonstrated during previous flights. This underscores SpaceX's commitment to prioritizing critical tasks as they advance towards the forthcoming stages of this mission. Before the water deluge system commenced, the two stages were meticulously stacked together. Specifically on the morning of March 10th, the press plate on S28 was removed, and the ship QD arm, previously connected to B10, was repositioned. At approximately 9:36 Central Standard Time, Chopstick lifted the ship onto the booster. The stacking process, lasting about an hour, allowed SpaceX to execute precise adjustments. Subsequently, the ship QD and crane lifting crews converged on the prototypes to perform additional tasks. Prior to the stacking procedure, S28 was destacked from B10 on March 5th for final preparations, encompassing 2 phases, testing hot staging, heat shields and installing FTS boxes. With these critical preparations completed, it's safe to assume that the latest stack will likely remain unchanged until launch day. Following the water deluge system test, there will be no further major tests with the hardware until launch day. Furthermore, with just a few days remaining until the official launch date of March 14th, it's evident that there won't be another D-stack. This marks a pivotal moment for S28, B10 and the aerospace community as we collectively count down to the highly anticipated launch. After much anticipation, the FAA has officially updated the launch schedule for SpaceX's Starship OFT-3. The primary launch date is set for March 14th, with backup dates scheduled for the subsequent 4 days up until the 18th. The newly designated regions for the S28 splashdown, with estimated dates ranging from the 14th to the 18th. These updates confirm the official determination of the launch schedule. In this schedule to previous launches, such as IFT-1 and 2, reveals a trend of flexibility. This flexibility allows SpaceX to adapt to unforeseen circumstances, such as the need to address issues like the grid fin during IFT-2. Hence, the inclusion of the backup dates is crucial to accommodate potential weather-related delays. However, the hope remains that all goes smoothly, enabling Starship to launch on Pi Day, March 14th, coinciding with SpaceX's founding day, adding an extra layer of significance to the occasion. The upcoming flight is poised to mark a significant departure from the previous 2 endeavors. During the inaugural flight test, the fully stacked S24 and B7 prototypes ascended from the Launchpad and reached an altitude of approximately 40 kilometers, or 25 miles, above sea level. Furthermore, the Starship's payload door will be opened approximately 12 minutes into the flight and closed again around 16 minutes later, to evaluate its capabilities to deliver satellites and other payloads to space. But I'd speculate they'd want to practice a retrograde deorbit burn, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. This time, instead of making about 3/4 through an orbit and then landing in the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii, Starship is now targeting a good bit shorter trajectory, and it will land in the Indian Ocean near Australia. It is imperative for the international community to come together to develop solutions that safeguard both life on Earth and future space missions. Only through collaborative action can we effectively mitigate the risks posed by space debris and ensure the safety of space. And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And if you want to support our channel and if you want to be up to date, you can become an exclusive member, so click on our perks through the link in the description below. Thanks to watching and see you next time.